Hey guys, better late than never, I suppose. It's not any quieter. Kinda, this is the usual. Anyway, hi Lucid Dreams, Sunbuster, Cat Eats Chips. I had 2 beers, but for real, I am at home and there are no cops asking me. Oh, it feels like 7 beers. I don't see why cops would be asking you how many beers you had anyway. It's really none of their business. Especially in your house. Now, apparently, I think somebody has been adding some trees or something. Right, but the first thing we're going to do today apart from look at a nice checkerboard is I'm going to see if reloading this, because this is the first time I've loaded Unreal Engine today. I've been a lazy boy, right, but I want to see if the foliage actually sizes correctly. Apparently we're waiting on shaders. You can all blame this on Sunbuster. Sunbuster says no stream today. And I was going to stream later and then I thought why not just do it just now, bugger it. So we can all blame Sunbuster for forcing me shaming me into getting my finger out my butt and doing this. But hey ho, gets it done I suppose. And Lucid, is this some of your positive nonsense that you're speaking again about the 2 beers? Well, you see, I know, you see, I'm 6 hours behind you guys, right? So I knew that if I left it till 6 o'clock, I think the word is tipsy. Right, and this is definitely all Sunbuster's fault that we're sitting here looking at shaders. Right. We'll just start having a look at this while we do it, right? Now, if anybody Where's all the settings? Where's all the settings for the foliage? I'm guessing it's waiting. Did I not select one there? I hate how this thing doesn't... Yeah, I did select one. Yeah, I have selected one. Like, see, that one selected. I hate how these are so not viewable, right? They should really make these... Right, no point in complaining, I suppose. So let's not complain. Come on, shaders, for goodness sake. Rocks are the least of your problems. Well, mine doesn't turn bright. Well, it's got a blue tick in it, but you'll notice that it goes away if you're not hovering over it. Maybe there's a setting somewhere in the editor that you can... I'm afraid to do anything in case I paint something on, right, while it's loading the shaders, and it screws everything up. Yeah, you can use rocks, yeah, as well. You just basically get the static meshes for the rocks and drag them in here. And the neighbours are making noise, so the dogs are getting upset. Always great. Yeah, just static meshes. Right, while we're doing this, right, I just want to check something. Right, in our interactable items, right, we've got our DT food items. Right, so that's okay. That's our FK. That's the main one. Required items. Right. So we're probably gonna have to rename this. This is what I was checking for, right? Yeah. So we need to change this struct required. this should be this is the FK, so it needs to really replicate, right? Now we have more info. Okay, this might not be the same. So we're going to have to leave that one for now. But I certainly wanted all the others, right? This could actually be, let's have a look here. I'm going to rename this, right? And we're going to rename it. This is part of something I wanted to do anyway. Food, drink, items. Right? Okay. Right. Alright, we've got a bit more going on. It's doing the old grassy McGrass stuff. Okay. Right, this is for the helper, I think. While we wait. And these are the helper ones. Right, so come on, shaders. Stop making me miserable. Alright, so anyway. It's just all rather depressing that these shaders need done. And the reason I wanted to do some of this was the fact that it's kind of soul destroying when you look at our map and you scroll and you kind of look at it, at the bits we've done, and it looks good, but as soon as you move about 5 yards it starts looking crap because there's nothing there. Right, like for example, once we go out of here, as soon as we go over here, as soon as we go over there, there's a nice world. It's a daisy. Right, now the other thing is, I need to acclimatise myself to where, right, this is the entrance to the caves. Now, don't ask me how you get up here. It's probably not a great idea, actually. But that's how you get into the caves up there. I've got no idea why it's doing these shaders. My colleague must have made changes or something in the map. Which is fine, of course, but obviously these trees and stuff, it's doing the shaders for the meshes, right? Because these rocks, these are all rocks, right? But they're not foliage. We don't do those rocks as foliage. It's kind of the rocks are filling out the Well, this is a great stream, isn't it? Sitting watching shaders not going particularly fast. I'll tell you what I'll do just to make it a bit more exciting for you guys, right? We'll go into debug and we'll do our widget reflector, right? So that you can see easier the number of, now you can see that number. So now you get a clear view of how long we're going to have to wait. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and grab a coffee. Right, so it's coffee break time, guys. Go and get yourself a coffee. I'll be back in 2. Right, we're back. We've got a coffee. I told you to go and get coffee or something. I would tell you funny stories, but I really only know one funny story. Like, development, funny story. Do you want to hear my funny story? Would you like to hear my funny development story? Okay, funny story. Was working on research software, right? It was year 2K. It was basically we were moving something to Windows, right? It was dispensary software, so not dispensary as in like in a pharmacy or something like that. It was dispensary as in for research, right? So it was for basically getting food to animals and stuff like that, and dosing animals and stuff, right? So we'd worked on this for about, I think it was 2 years or something, if I remember rightly, okay? And there was 2 developers, me and another guy. We'll call him Ross, right? Because that's his name, right? So basically we were subcontracted to like a software company, right? But this software, you couldn't really write it as a software company because you needed access basically 24/7 to like all the researchers and scientists, right? It was, you were working basically with PhD guys, right, and all the rest of it. So you needed access to them for how they did it, what all the calculations and blah blah blah, right? So basically we were doing that, and we were subcontracted to a software company, and the software company had been contracted by like one of the big huge pharmaceutical companies, right? You're talking money coming out their backsides, right? As is the want of pharmaceutical companies. So anyway, it was coming to, actually there's 2 funny stories about this, right? So the first one is, we were working on this software, right? And we really had it in, let's say, alpha, right? Now, what alpha means, it really means is, I know how it's used in games, but that's not really what it means, right? Alpha is like, it's a mock-up, right, of how things will look and stuff like that, right? So we were asked to go down to the to the main headquarters of the big pharma company and basically give them a rundown. But the problem was that basically they were of the opinion that they were getting like the finished product, right? Where we we're thinking, well, this is just an alpha, a lot of stuff's not going to work, but we'll be able to give them an idea of what it's going to look like, right? So basically we went down there, and it was the most... I was a bag of nerves. I hid in the toilet, right? Because basically it took us all day to install the databases and stuff to the server, and it was all going wrong. And then as soon as we fired it up, the whole thing was going wrong, and it was just horrific, and they were like really upset, right? And as I said, we were told, you know, that we're just showing off an alpha, don't worry about it, whereas the pharmaceutical company thought they were getting basically the finished product. So, as I said, I spent about half an hour hiding in the toilet from embarrassment because nothing was working, even though we knew it wasn't going to work, but the way they were acting as if it was like the end of the world, and we were like, well, we knew this wasn't going to work. But anyway, so my first visit to the big pharmaceutical headquarters, I hid in the toilet because I was so embarrassed. But anyway, so that was all sorted out, and we got apologised to and all the rest of it. And they said, oh, we thought we were getting this, and it was explained to us after the fact that no, we're still in production, blah, blah, blah. Right? But, so it got to the end, right? And basically there was about a 7-man team, right? So we had like a database guy who was doing all the database stuff, not writing the SQL or anything, we were doing that, but he was making sure that the database was set up, it was set up in Oracle, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? And then we had a couple of guys who would help us out with the project manager, and then basically we had access to all these scientists and researchers and stuff, right? And we had another guy who was doing the testing stuff, right? So he was writing this, basically it was like a huge, you know those big huge folders you get, well, I can't remember what they're called, but they've got the big huge metal things in the middle, you know, and they're like about 600 pages they can hold, right? And it's basically you punch 2 holes in them and stick it in there, but it's not the little tiny ones, right? It's the big huge ones. So we'd come to basically the end, and we had to go through, he had written these hundreds of tests, right? And what we had to do was basically we'd to sit there, we were testing it ourselves, right? But we were testing it against someone else's test. So we would have to sit there and basically type in what was on, you know, the test thing. Ring binder, yeah, that's the thing. The big huge ring binder, right? And it was literally hundreds of pages, right? And we had to just go through it, you know, type in this, did you get this result? What result did you get? Is there a problem? If there's a problem, we had to go and fix it and then run the tests again, right? But this was at the end when we had it, well, basically when we were testing it, right? So we basically worked all through the night. So let's say this was a Monday night, right? So what was happening was we were testing on the Monday night, and then basically flying down to just outside London on the Tuesday morning at about, I can't remember what time it was. It was early anyway. It was, let's say the flight was at 9 o'clock in the morning. Remembering it only takes about an hour to get from Scotland down to London, right? So anyway, so it comes to about 5, 6 in the morning. We've completed all our testing and that. And I can't remember exactly what we were doing, right? But my colleague Ross, I think we were going to grab something to eat or a coffee or something, right? And so I said, I'm going to go and get a coffee, right? And he said, okay, right, you go and get a coffee. What I'll do is I'll burn the CDs, right, with the client on it. And then we were going to his house so he could change, and then we were going straight to the airport for there, right? So I say, okay, I'm going to get a coffee then. So I comes back and I was like, you got the disc sorted out? Yep, got a disc on it, labels, blah, blah, blah. We're good to go. Right? So we go back to his place, everything's fine. Go to the airport, everything's fine. We're obviously been working all night. So we get down to London and they've sent transportation for us. So it's big black Mercedes and all the rest of it. As I said, money no object to them. And so we're sitting in the back and all the rest of it, and we're like, oh, tired, both obviously shattered, right? So first thing we do, we get into this conference room, right? And they've got they had these little like pocket PCs, right? It was for using with these little pocket PCs so they could carry them about and set them up anywhere, you know, in their research labs and stuff, right? So these were about the size of probably about the size of like a big smartphone, right? But a decent bit thicker, you know. But these were full PCs, right? And so they were like, okay, we're gonna have to install the software. So Ross gets out the disc, gives them a disc, they put a disc in, won't read the disc. Or like, he's looking at it, right? So he brings out the disc, puts it in again, nothing, won't read it. Like, what's going on here? I was like to Ross, did you check it? And he's like, yeah. I was like, you sure? Yeah. I was like, okay. So we're sitting here getting a bit embarrassed. And then one of their guys had a look at this. At this point, I'm nowhere near it, right? And the guy takes out the disc and goes, the label's on the wrong side. And we're like, what? It's like, the label's on the wrong side. The label's on the disc, written on, you know, the label's stuck on the disc. And so for the next about 20 minutes, my colleague was trying to peel the label off the CD. Now you can imagine what that's looking like, right? And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. And we're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And literally, he's getting his nails and trying to peel this sticker label off the CD in this conference room with all these scientists and heads of this big pharma company. And you're just sitting there going, oh my God. And they were okay about it, right? Because what happened in the end was they went, you worked all night, didn't you? And we went, yeah. And then basically what they said was, right, go and phone your boss and get him to get another disc. At this point, the internet, you couldn't pass these files across, right? It was the, you know, CDs. So steaming it wouldn't have worked, right? Because steaming it was one of those ones where, you know, where the glue just bloody sticks to it, right? So you peel off the paper and there's basically a layer of glue underneath it, right? And then the glue would basically just come off in little tiny bits. You know the one I'm talking about, right? So basically they said, okay, right, you haven't slept all night, phone up your boss, get him to make a copy and FedEx it down tomorrow. Right? So, literally, on launch day, my colleague burned a disc and stuck a label on top of it and made it unreadable. But the next day was okay, we got it installed and it all worked fine. It was one of my finest hours. The funny thing was, it was down in England, right? It was just outside London, and it was all Scottish people that worked there, or a lot of them. You know, to show you how, this is how mad it was, right? Their canteen had a Porsche toaster. Literally a Porsche toaster. Don't think I've ever seen a Porsche toaster before or since. At that point I didn't even know Porsche made toasters. Probably only ever made one that was for them. A Ferrari microwave, yeah, you got a Ferrari sticker on it. No, the funny thing was, this was literally a Porsche toaster, because they told us how much it cost, and it was something absolutely ridiculous. And that was like in the year, let's say 1999, right? And it was about 400 quid. So you're talking, it was like about $800 at that point, right? For a toaster. Anyway, we're down to 311. I need to find, right, while we're waiting on this, right, I'm going to find, see if I can find Porsche toaster and kettle, yeah. You see, they do exist. Yeah, I know. I've worked, not really funny stories, but I've worked with plenty of guys that have absolutely no idea how to program, that were programmers. It didn't look like that. That must be, see, that's a Siemens, but they're designed by Porsche. But back in the day, they made them, right? And it didn't. It just looked like a bloody toaster, to be honest. Right, I have a story where I had an upgrade, a large Dutch relay from NT4 to new active. Yeah, these things never... These things that need done today never end well, usually. I used to have a shop. We sold mobile phones and technology stuff, right? Oh my god. Worst people, customers, right? No matter what you tell, you know, everybody says the customer's always right, you know, that crap, right? Well, literally, no, customer's usually actually wrong, right? I had one woman argued with me for about half an hour that we had tried to fix her electric typewriter, right? When I hadn't seen an electric typewriter in about 15 years, right? And she was absolutely adamant we had tried to fix her electric typewriter, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't fix electric typewriters, so I'm guessing that we didn't fix yours. She was like, yeah, you did. And then after about 20 minutes of this, it dawned on me there was another like computer repair shop that might have actually tried to fix her electric typewriter, right? So after 20 minutes, I said to her, are you sure it's not this other shop that tried to fix your electric typewriter? And basically, as I said, she argued with me for about 20 minutes until it dawned on me what was going on. And basically, once she sort of realised what she'd done, she went all quiet, and I basically said, do you want to apologise now? And she would not apologise, so it's just like, well, I can't help you. Then I had another person who was trying to return like a phone. It would have probably been a Nokia 3310, right? The indestructible ones. But she had managed to destroy it. And she basically came in, plonked the box on the table and said, my phone's no working. So I basically opened up the box, and there was about half a centimetre of milk on the bottom of the box with the phone swimming about in it. And she basically said, what was it? It was something to the effect of, she let her kid with a bottle of milk play with her phone. So the returns on that was basically what we did was, if it was water damage, you were screwed, right? Yeah, it was milk. She had a young kid, and she let the young kid, who's basically obviously had milk in a bottle, play with the box and the phone, and had basically drenched it with milk, right? And what you had to do basically was say, you know, it was water damage, right? Now, basically what happened was that if you sent a phone back and it basically was water damaged, they charged you, right? Because there's nothing they can do about it, and it's obviously been the customer that's damaged it themselves, right? Now, obviously, if a phone doesn't switch on or off, right, sometimes water damage can be invisible, right? Because obviously, let it dry off. There's no really any sign of the water damage. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not, right? So we would have to try and find out somehow if they'd actually got it water damaged or not. So we got a lot of phones like that. Then the next one, funny one, was a guy. I can't remember what he bought, but it wasn't cheap, right? And what he did was, I can't even remember what the time scale was between him buying it and him actually bringing it back, right? But we're telling stories because we're waiting on shaders, right? But guy comes back, right? And he goes, my phone's not working, right? And we're like, all right. We were like, can we take a look at it? And he's like, no, put it in the bucket. I want my money back. Here's my receipt. We were like, you have to give us the phone back with the receipt. And he's like, no, don't. Here's the receipt. I was like, you have to give us the phone back with the receipt so we can check it, send it away, get it fixed or whatever, or replace it. He was like, oh, put it in the bucket. I'm like, well, you'll need to go and get it out of the bucket. And he was like, blah, 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 no. And I tried to explain to him, I said, look, imagine you buy a car, right? And you smash it up. And then you go to the garage and say, I want my money back. And they say, where's the car? Do you think that you just accept the receipt and give you the money back? And then I had an old couple who tried to pay me with jam for fixing their computer. Oh, I had all sorts of fun. As I said, we had programmers, met programmers who couldn't program for a contract software place. We had a guy who, believe it or not, this must have been the origins of the Nigerian prince, right? But we were doing a website for the government, right? And it was to pay business poll tax, right? Mr. Spock will know what poll tax is, right? It's basically a government tax on houses, right? Anyway, but this was business, right? and they had bought this Microsoft product, which was basically like an Amazon back end. I can't remember what it was called, right? But it was basically their version of the, online shop, the back end, storing all the items in a database, blah, 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 blah. But you could build out a shop with it, right? And a website. But we only needed it to do one product, right? Which was this thing. So basically, we didn't have any experts. None of us had seen it. None of us had worked with it before. So what we did was we hired in a contractor. Right? And it just happened that, so this contractor turned up. It was like the first day, so he was going to work with us. I can't remember if it was a week or 2 weeks, right? And he was on obviously a lot of money, right? Literally, we trained him. And we only saw the software that day. And he was supposed to be the expert. It came to the end of his 2 weeks, and our boss said to us, he said, "How did your guy go?" Yeah, it might have been front page server actually. I can't remember what it was called, but it was their sort of flagship like online store back end thing. Anyway, yeah, so basically our boss at the end of the guy's time basically come back to us and says we've got to fill out something, and basically he was useless, right? We taught him. He didn't have a clue what he was doing, right? He'd obviously basically talked his way into it, but had absolutely zero experience. So, as I said, after 2 weeks, we had to go back to our boss and say, "What did you think of the contract expert guy?" And our answer was basically, "Well, I think he enjoyed his 2 weeks training that we gave him and got paid for it." Right, but that's not the end of the story, because we were in there for a couple of months, right? We worked in like a government office in a government building. And it was like about 2 months later, and it was right next to a shopping centre, and we were walking through the shopping centre. No, I didn't get the flame reflections working. I'm not going to worry about it. It's one of them, I'm not going to worry about it. There's a lot of things I can't get working. Like I can't get, well, for number one, this isn't bringing up the options, right, for doing foliage, but I think it's because of the shaders, right? So I can't really check anything just now. Anyway, back to my story. We're walking through the shopping centre where we used to obviously go for our lunch and whatever. And who's walking up? This Nigerian guy again. Right? And we're like, "Oh, hello, how you doing?" And we're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm working on the server farms." And we just all looked at him. Apparently he was now a server farm expert as well. So, don't know how that went. Because the funny thing was, about that project, was I left it. And I basically told them before I left it that it wasn't going to work. Because basically, we were sending... So, what was happening was, we were sending all the details for the customer or the business to the bank, right? But at that point in time, the bank's online payment system didn't send you anything back, right? And it was at that point I sort of said to them, this ain't going to work. I says, if we don't get any acknowledgement back, how does the customer know if they've ever paid it or not? And basically that killed the whole thing. They had to move on to a new provider, and basically that bank had to change their whole system. Because basically when a payment was made, their software didn't reply. It just went, okay, whatever. Yeah, so you realise that sometimes these big companies and stuff just have no idea what they're doing, or aren't as advanced as you think they are. At the time I worked in insurance, they were still using an AS400 database that was ancient. Which I know that that's fairly normal these days, because people still use a whole lot of legacy stuff because they're afraid to actually update it. Yeah, as I said, you get some... Got a silly one, right? Got a silly one. I've got a couple of stories. I used to work in a semiconductor factory, right? And it originally, for the first about 5 years or 10 years, it was all young people, right? What they did was basically skimmed off like all the kids with qualifications, right? So basically you had people with degrees and stuff just working as normal sort of workers in those places, you know? But it was, and as I said, it was the sort of, let's say, the cream of the crop from all the schools who had the most O levels, hires, qualifications, blah blah blah, college, whatever. And then they started hiring older people and blah blah blah, you know, as you know, obviously that pool gets diminished because there's quite a few semiconductor factories opened in technology places. And we had one woman who was like, she came up one day and she was talking to everybody and saying, I've got a problem, what's that? Oh, my rabbit isn't working. And we're like, rabbit? Yeah, you know, my rabbit. And we're like, what? Rabbit? You know, the rabbit that's connected to the computer. She was talking about a mouse, right? But she had got it in her head it was called a rabbit. Right. Am I going to think? Right, hang on a minute. Right. This is my problem here. These are exactly the same size. Right? And this is what we couldn't get working yesterday. And this is what was annoying the crap out of me. and the settings here aren't available. Yeah, there's a lot of things about the making chips. We made chips for the N64. I know that. We made a lot of stuff for cars and washing machines and your normal standard RAM. I think, like, and stuff like our rejects went to Texas Instruments. But that kind of place isn't really made for, you know, you're in a semiconductor factory, it's a clean room, right? It's basically one big clean room, but some parts are cleaner than others, right? And because it's so sanitized and everything, there wasn't an awful lot happened. But you could screw up big time because there was so much money involved. Like, you're talking, you would get, like, let's say it was normal RAM, okay? So you would get a lot, and a lot would come on up to 50 wafers. And those 50 wafers would have like between 200 and 300 chips on it. And by 200 to 300, I mean good chips, right? What happened was, over time, your yield would get higher and higher, right? It's basically that matter of like making pancakes, right? The more you do it, the better the recipe gets. You didn't make mistakes. Pancakes come out great every time, right? Same thing. Except to be more complicated, right? Obviously. But moral of the story was, you had about 26,000 chips in a lot. And you normally worked in lots, right? So you would put a lot on a machine, right? Each process would be done by lot. So if you fucked up a process, you were talking 26,000 chips that you fucked up, right? Now, I know about one day at the end of the shift, someone was swinging on a chair and basically pulled a shelf down with like about 30 lots on it. So they all fell on the floor, and that basically means they're all broken. So what's that, about 30 times 25,000? That's about 750,000. That's 750,000 chips. Yeah. Didn't get sacked. Didn't even get sacked. Right? That's not even on the bloody ground. Yeah, in that place, it was because of the culture. It was a Japanese company, and they basically it was really was the last resort. Right, you had to have done something absolutely like morally bad and whatever to get fired. You know, something beyond the pale, basically, to get yourself fired. I'm going to go back to selection mode just now. Oh, and our shaders are finished. Right. Foliage. Where's the things? Where's the settings? Where's the goddamn settings? I don't get it. Where are the settings? Am I missing something? I mean, at least I had the settings yesterday. I think I'd be better not doing that. I think I would be better shutting it down and opening it back up again. Well, this is weird. I've had a lot of these streams lately where we basically run into some stupid problem and get absolutely sod all done. It's all Sunbuster's fault anyway. Yeah, we're doing our Unreal Engine Windows restart. The only other thing I can think of. Oh, you're joking me, you're not going to do this shader thing again. Right, cancel that. Right, so we're all good. Yeah, we're all good until we try to open this bloody map. No, I don't get the reference. What's the reference? If it's a TV show, then no, because I've not watched TV in about 20 years. I have heard of it, but I think I possibly watched about a minute of it and thought it was shit. But that's just me. But then again, I'm old, so maybe it appeals to a younger crowd, shall we say. Right, where's frickin' settings? Come on, where's the frickin' settings? Right, whose idea was this? I just wanted to do foliage for a laugh and some, you know, peace and quiet and tranquility and just for a chill stream, and it's ended up being nothing but a bloody headache. Foliage setting not showing. Oh, would you believe it? Foliage not showing options in foliage mode. Top 1 on Google. Right, we are set to details. Says show details. Right, we did that. Right, they said to drag that window up, but there's nothing to drag up. don't get it, man. Right, they're saying that there's... You are frickin' joking me. Okay, I'm stupid. I get it. I'm stupid. Right. So, we're doing this tree, right? The less said about that, the better. But that definitely wasn't shown, was it? Even when I clicked on these. Right? Or, hang on a minute, right? Right. Look, it's went away. Right, I'm going to do that. Right, it's away. Right, if you click on that, but don't click on it, they don't appear. Ah, it's bollocks. Anyway, next problem, right? Next problem is if I do 0.8, let's say 2, this should draw these at a different size. But I think these are not actually doing a different size. Right? Those are all an identical size. Right? What's that all about? Right, I'm going to check this. Yes, I know. I want the trees to be the same, but I want them to be slightly different. Right? Let's try it. No, it's actually X, Sunbuster. Right, so they are different. Yeah, but it shouldn't matter if you paint them one by one. They should still be different sizes, right? But you'll notice, right, if I do one there, right, let's see, 0.1. It might just be this, see, that's what I want. So it does work, right? It's just the scaling. Right. Let's see if you're right. No, see, if you do them one by one, it does change the size of them as well. Right? These are all different sizes. See, I don't want loads painted, right? My colleague tells me that he wants to keep it fairly sparse, right? So I don't want to paint gazillions. But I do want them to be kind of different sizes. Right? What's it doing there? Right, but obviously you see, this is working, but I tried this yesterday. Right? And it just wouldn't do it. So single does vary size as well. Except when it doesn't want to do jack. Alright. So it's more like 0.4 to 1.2, but as I said, I had this set yesterday and I had these set to like 0.8 and 1.2 and they were all the same size. It wasn't doing anything. Now I do get the fact that setting them to like extremes is going to have an effect, but either way it wasn't working yesterday like this. Right, look at this, just want bloody draw. Now I'm guessing that's because it's near this other, or there's something there that's foliage that it thinks is there. So if I put 10 in there, right? Right, now that's cool as well, except for one thing. We need a rotation. Where was the rotation again? Z offset in it. It just seems to be like I'm not drawing there. For some unknown reason. Like, nope, not gonna draw that. So it'll draw there, but I think I know why it is. It's because of this ground slope angle, right? If I do that, go back to single, yeah. Right, what I'm going to do, see, I'm just not convinced by this at all, right? I'll show you why. Right, we'll go back to flat bit, right? It's Z. Why? It's like, why is this set it back? 360, right? 40. Right, that's what I want. Well, I didn't want that one there, right enough. Right, so these should be facing like different directions, so the you see, but they're not. That's bollocks. Right, one. Right, I don't know why it's putting them in mid-air either. It's just bloody annoying. Right, see that trunk is facing the exact same. Is it facing the exact same way? No. Right, it's decided to play ball. Right, it's doing what we want now. Kinda. I mean, we can give it a minimum, maximum offset as well here. Right? If we don't want it to go like straight up. There was a random pitch angle, right? Where you can do like, let's say 5 degrees off center. So that they can be off straight up, but not by much, which kind of makes more sense. Like that. Except for some reason that one's in the middle of the bloody air. I don't get this at all. Why is that in the sod in the middle of the air? Why is that one now in the middle? I think I actually know why it's in the middle of the air. I think it's our terrain. Alright, lucid dreams. Catch you later, bud. Did I click off of that? It's as if this doesn't even know where the bloody ground is. I don't know what's going on with this, man. It seems to not have a single idea of where the blooming ground is. I'm guessing that is because it's more than 40 degrees slope. Right, I don't get that at all. Right, we don't actually want it to align to the normal. I think what we're gonna, right, okay. We're gonna have to have, there's a setting here where we need to do like, yeah, collision with worlds, aye. Let's try that. Don't know what that does. That seems to be giving me better results. Ooh. Tell you what, guys, I don't think I've got the patience for this. I mean, I don't know why it's just not playing ball. Let's do, if it's a 60-degree slope, still not doing jack. Out to 10. Don't know why it's not doing it. But I'm guessing it is because of that density. Right, we don't want it too plastered, right? Right, so it's kind of working better. I'm not 100% convinced, but right, now the reason I'm putting more round here is because there's a boat making thing here, right? And if there's a boat making thing here, this guy obviously has to go and get wood. So if there's no trees anywhere near, that kind of doesn't make any sense. Right? So yeah. Yeah, that's kind of at an angle, isn't it? Got a sharp angle there. Got a lot of sharp angles actually. Hi Jesse Entertainment. Hi Jesse. How's it going so far? Well, we've spent the last about hour doing shaders, waiting on shaders, and we've just now got to actually plonking down a few trees. Right. And do 0.5. We'll start setting these properly. Five. Oof. We'll undo that. Right, it's decided that I'm not going to draw on the ground again. Okay, gonna have to set that to and it's decided that it's not going to draw on the ground. See, that's not even on the bloody ground. So I'd have to question whether this one's on the ground or not. Is that even on the ground? Who knows? 5.1. Although I'm beginning to question my sanity for using Unreal Engine 5 at all. Like, look at that. It's not even on the ground. Not even on the ground. Right. Right, I'm going to leave it there. So if you enjoyed the stream, well, good luck with that. Hit the like and subscribe, guys. Check out the description for various links. I'll be back tonight, maybe. I'm not sure if I'm going to do an 8 o'clock stream or not, but thank you guys for watching. Bye bye for now.